Circling. Circling. Hi, everyone. It says I'm live. I really wanted to thank everyone who's uh, given me encouraging comments on the previous videos, and it's just it's here and there. It's a few, and I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you guys joining me. Today, I'm going to talk to you about Jesus. And oh, hi, there's someone there who's watching me. Thank you. Today I will talk to you about J, which is Jesus. And before you go away, because I said Jesus, you need to just take a minute and tell you a little story about my life. Yeah. So when I was 8 years old, I had. Let me start. I was born into a sort of a fairly stable middle-class family in India. And it was a Brahmin family, Hindu family. And as fortune would have it, my grandmother, when I was 6 months old, brought a nanny to take care of me from the Missions of Charity, which was the missionary that was operated by, at that time, Mother Teresa, and now she would be Saint Teresa. So I had this little lady who came. Her name was Renu, but I couldn't call her Renu. I called her Nuna. And she effectively became my mother, my father, my soul, my teacher, my soul teacher. Someone who teaches you what's good and what love is and what unconditional love is. And she taught me that. And she was Christian. So when I was 6 years old, I enrolled in a private missionary school in India. Most of the better schools are private schools, and they are missionary schools. So I enrolled in a Salesian school named Don Bosco, and we had Bible study every day, one period, and we weren't Christians, so we weren't allowed to attend Mass. So now, I don't know if you were allowed to or not, but we never did. It's very interesting. We weren't ever invited either. But when I was born, it wasn't just Jesus, or it wasn't just the Bible, or it wasn't just my nanny's influence, or it wasn't just my family's Hindu influence. I was always enamored with faith and spirituality from a very, very young age. I would sit with my grandmother, and when she prayed, I would really pay attention to the Bible studies, which they were lessons for me. I don't know. I was so close to them, and I found so much meaning in them, even at a very young age. And I found comfort. And I didn't understand any of it, right? So at the age of 8.5, my family was going through some really troubling times, my parents, and they ended up getting a divorce a year later. But when I was 8, I had malaria. I had malaria, and it was really bad. And I was really, really ill. And I remember that I remember I was in bed for a long time. And one day I started, all of a sudden, my fever started to rise, and I started to, what I would think today, or what conventional science today would say, hallucinating. But what I hallucinated was magnificent for me, because here I was in this much pain and suffering, and I was just so weak. And I opened my eyes, and on the ceiling and all over the walls were there was this like bright light, and there was Jesus, and there were all these gods that I had read about, and they were all looking down at me, and there was this like light coming at me, this bright shining, and I can't explain to you even today. It's 30 years ago that this happened, and it was just as if the whole room just was enveloping me and loving me. and this light was coming from the ceiling. And I kept like pointing up at the ceiling and telling my mother and my grandmother, hey, look, there's Jesus. Hey, look, there's Brahma. Hey, look, there's Krishna. And they were just crying and dousing me with cold water. And I was just, I was elated. I was like, oh, this is fun. I can see them. I can actually see them with my own eyes. And then I reached up and I was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. I was so ready to go. And as soon as I went, my will was to go, they disappeared. And all of those lights, they just slowly faded away. And all of a sudden I had this, like, you know how you get the sweats right after you, like, if the fever's going away and there's just like sweat. I had this fever and it just went away. And I still get chills thinking about it. And I still didn't understand what it was. It obviously it strengthened my resolve and faith. And after that, there were years that I went through a lot of pain and suffering. At the age of 9, my family split apart. It was very violent. Divorces in India are rare and very tilted against the woman, with custody battles. I was in courts and I was in police stations at the age of 9, 10, testifying, talking to lawyers, talking to judges about my custody, with where I should be living, with my brother's custody, who was 7 years younger than me, 2.5 at that time. So it was just very, very rough. And then my mother left the country and I was by myself, and I was in Darjeeling, which is a mountain town, in a boarding school for a year, which happened to be a Methodist school. And I immersed myself in the study of the Bible because it was, that was the only thing there. And let me tell you, at no point was I ever told by anybody, and I think that is my good fortune, or maybe I was told and I just didn't listen. I don't know. That Hinduism is bad and Christianity is good, or Christianity is bad and Hinduism is good, or Islam is bad, or any religion. I was never told that. I was never taught that. And I feel fortunate for that. Because it's very easy to blasphemize, bastardize an ideology if you don't understand that ideology, right? But if you look at faith, and if you look at, and I'm going to come back to Jesus in a second, let me just say that if you look at faith from a very personal standpoint, from a standpoint of how, like when you read the Bible, or when you read the Gita, or when you read the Quran, what does it say to you about your actions, about your deeds, about what's in your mind, about the stories in the Bible, or in the Quran, or in the Gita, or in the Torah, and the Talmud? How do those lessons relate to you? How do those lessons translate to you? They're speaking to you. They're not talking about you pontificating to somebody else about how to live. So, I couldn't reconcile the religions until very recently. And what I did was I started reading the Gita and the Bible, and some a translation of the Gita with some interpretation, some understanding of it. And what I found out about is that there's a huge correlation between these two ideologies, ideas. It's ideas. So Jesus Christ, Christ was born as Jesus of Nazareth, right? And then in the story of Jesus, he's baptized by John the Baptist, and he becomes Jesus Christ. And then, as we speak on this Holy Week, this is the holiest week for Christians, because on Good Friday, Jesus was crucified. And then Jesus rose from death and was resurrected and became the Son of God and ascended into heaven. Now, we think about these things in a very physical way, right? Like this transformation from Jesus of Nazareth to Jesus Christ to the Son of God. But it's written in Jesus's sermons, like what he means by it, right? So one of the, and I don't remember, it's been a while since I've really gone to the Bible or the Gita, so I'm not going to go into the verses and the phrases and all of that, and that because those are for you to understand for yourself. This is how I understood my friendship with Jesus and with Krishna and with the consciousness, the super consciousness that exists, that unites all of these ideologies. So Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. And throughout his sermon, his life, he has showed us how to come to him. You come to him by being meek. You come to him by being kind to others. You come to him by not judging others. You come to him by self-control. You come to him by not being tempted by the things that you want but don't need. These are the things that Jesus has talked about, right? These are the kindnesses, the humility, service to others, charity, empathy, compassion, love. This is how he lived his life. And he also said many times in the Bible that I am a son of God. Right? He was very careful to say that he was a son of God. And you can be a son of God too. So how is that possible that he's the Son of God and he's telling us how can we be the Son of God? And the only way to do is through him. And how do you get to him? It's by your deeds. The deeds that are his deeds, right? And the Gita actually says the same thing in a conversation with the great charioteer Arjuna and Krishna, being the incarnation of the super consciousness. Arjuna asks Krishna that, my Lord, in all of the universe, where can I see where can I see you in action? And the Lord said, I live and work in the deeds of people. And that is exactly what Jesus said. Is that I live in the deeds of your deeds, of what you do. And I tell you this, from the very moment that I built this relationship with spirituality, it was never my intent to ever talk to anybody about my faith. And I've written about it once in my first book, and I'm talking about this today the second time, because it's very personal to me. And it pains me, and it really hurts me to see that there are so many religions in the world, and they say the same thing about love and about compassion, and somehow we choose to take these books and we put our ideas in them, saying that, oh, we're reading these books as if they were being told someone else, that these stories were meant for someone else, that I should be judging someone else, or that someone else should be doing the good. No. The only way, the truth and the way, is by me, is by Jesus, by the consciousness, by the enlightenment that happened to him when he became Jesus Christ, the Christ consciousness, the consciousness of the crown. Krishna, the crown, our crown. This is our temple right here, people. This is our temple, and this is our crown. And this is what we use, what's here, to get to where Jesus wants us to go, which is a place of unity, a place where we let our anger go, where we let our sense of vengeance go, where we raise ourselves up higher than being the basest of animals to being the stewards of this world, where we take conscious responsibility, the way, the truth, and the life, the way, the truth, the life is by me. Do what I do, is what Jesus says. And you will be in heaven. You will be a son of God because you will be united in God. And as you get closer, and as I have gotten closer to this understanding, I have gotten closer and closer and closer and closer to seeing the beauty of everything, of thinking before saying something, for thinking twice before saying, before killing animals or for consumption. Why else would I be killing animals, right? And taking care of the planet and taking care of each other, taking care of others, taking care of strangers, worrying about strangers. And this comes naturally to me. It doesn't mean that I'm any less caring for my family or my friends. I'm equally as caring for them. And you see that as this faith transcends into you, where you are the deed. Without your deeds, heaven is nowhere and hell is everywhere. Without your deeds, without your actions, without your non-actions at the right time, with measured calculation on how we think and act, to not act like machines that have no souls, but souls that can think and be free. And that is what Jesus wants us to be. And this is Holy Week, and this is one of the most trying times in American and global history. If anything, we need togetherness now. If anything, we need faith now. If anything, we need to let go of divisiveness now. Because, and I've read part of the Quran. I haven't read all of the Quran yet, but let me tell you something. The Quran isn't a bad book. The Quran says largely the same things that the Bible and the Gita say. The Torah and the Talmud are books that tell you about how to live your life well. These laws of halal and kosher are meant for bodily integrity. You have to understand them, but you also have to understand that these books have a lot of things that are obsolete. There are a lot of things that are obsolete. The internet wasn't around at that time. There's still one person. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Don't like, because I'm talking about Jesus. So if you want to praise Jesus, if you want to really be in mourning of his bodily loss and in exuberation of his immortal life, then live his life. Then appreciate his lessons. And you don't need to go to church for that. This is your church right here. Your church is inside of you. Just like the body and the blood of Christ is inside of you. That spirit of goodness is inside you. The kingdom of heaven is inside you. And if you can see that within yourself, you'll never have to go to a house of God, because you will become the temple. I pray to you in the name of any higher being that you believe in. And if you're an atheist, I pray to you that you believe in science, which I hope you do if you're not an atheist, because God, what else are you going to believe in? and take measured action about leaving the house during the coronavirus pandemic. Let me tell you, simply put, Jesus would not be going out and amassing people if he knew there was something that could harm him and his disciples. He wouldn't do that. He didn't take all of his disciples in to get into trouble when he got into trouble with the Romans. He didn't. He didn't. He helped them. He taught them how to fish. He taught them how to love, but he didn't take them on a journey of suffering with him. So don't follow his name to a building. Follow his deeds to your heart and live them. And from now till the end of time, I pray that you come closer to your faith with anything that is higher, and your faith in yourself, that you are capable of doing the good that Jesus did, because you are. Happy Easter, happy spring, happy Passover, happy Dole, all of these things. This is spring. Let us begin anew a brave new world for all of us equally. Thank you.